A scale is simply a specific sequence of notes. Of course, we can create a scale with all 12 notes we find in each octave. That's called a chromatic scale. But usually we use scales with a smaller amount of notes. The two most important scales we use in Western music, the major and minor scale, are so-called diatonic scales, which consist of 7 notes. This is why the piano has 7 white keys in each octave. And it's also why our musical alphabet has 7 letters. Each letter appears exactly once in any major or minor scale. Using just the white keys on the piano, we can already play both a major and a minor scale. If we begin on C, that's a C major scale. If we begin on A, we play an A minor scale. It is often said that major and minor have different emotional qualities. Major keys tend to sound bright and uplifting, while minor keys sound a little darker and sadder. In any case, the vast majority of Western music, from classical to pop, is based on these scales. So when you hear that a song is in a specific key, such as C major or A minor, it means that the first note of that scale is the tonal center, and the song mostly uses notes and chords from that specific scale. But how do we know which keys to use in which scale? We can take a look at the structure of major and minor scales. The major scale contains 3 perfect intervals, 4th, 5th, and the octave, as well as 4 major intervals, the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th. Now let's compare that to our minor scale. The perfect intervals remain the same. We have a perfect 4th from A to D, a perfect 5th from A to E, and of course an octave from A to A. The second note of our scale also remains the same. There are 2 semitones between A and B, a major second. However, the third note of the scale is lower than the one in our major scale. There's only a minor third between A and C. The same is true for the 6th and 7th. Both of them are minor intervals. So that's the whole difference between major and minor keys. In the minor scale, the 3rd, 6th, and 7th note are each a semitone lower compared to the major scale. This means that if we want to turn our C major scale into a C minor scale, all we have to do is lower these 3 notes by a semitone. So a C minor scale looks like this. Likewise, we can transform our A minor scale into major by raising these 3 notes. I want to show you one more way to think about this, and it's connected to the layout of the keys on the piano. We learned that there's always a semitone between neighboring keys. This means that although the white keys are identical in size, there are actually 2 different intervals between them, since there's no black key between E and F and between B and C. Those notes are only a semitone apart, while we have 2 semitones, a whole tone, between all the other white keys. So when we play a scale using just the white keys, each octave consists of 5 whole tones and 2 semitones. This is true for both our major and our minor scale. The only difference between them is the position of the 2 semitones. In our major scale, we have semitones between the notes 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. In our minor scale, the semitones are between 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. The great thing is, you don't have to memorize any of this, because as soon as you're sitting at the piano, you have this structure right in front of you. All you need to remember is that when you play a scale using the white keys, the major scale begins on C and the minor scale begins on A. So with this formula, we can now create any major or minor scale. Just to give an example, let's build a D major scale. The first step is a whole tone, which takes us from D to E. Now we need another whole tone. Since E and F are only a semitone apart, our third note has to be F sharp. The next step in our scale is a semitone, so we move from F sharp to G. The following three steps are whole tones, so we go from G to A, from A to B, and from B to C sharp. That leaves us with the final step of our scale, a semitone between C sharp and D.